So hello everyone from Akasa Living, and Dianna Leeder is with me again. Hey, Giants.
Hello.
And the cards we pulled just happened to be what I was supposed to talk about today. And so here we are just doing an impromptu. So Dianna, you want to do our cards for us, please?
I will.
All
So
right.
these are being pulled from the Sacred Geometry Activations Oracle deck. You can see that without any light. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. And the first one that we pulled is prosperity. So I'll have a little gander at that.
Look at those colors. The green, of course, immediately is prosperity. That's health, wealth, abundance, and prosperity. The heart chakra, which of course our heart gets the story, the transmission about our heart's desire, our highest and best good timeline. So that is just amazing. That's perfect. Yeah, love it.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And it says the frequency of prosperity supports our feelings of well being by allowing the inclusion of everything that makes our body, mind, heart, soul, and spirit sing. I love that. It invites us to express ourselves in joy and celebration of the abundance and riches that the universe provides.
So all of that is talking about getting into the frequency of prosperity, and all that was expression, and it was joy, and it was music, and it was it was all high vibrational stuff, and it was all about expression too. So okay, the next one.
Okay, so the next one is transition. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
We don't get any.
That deep purplish blue. So that's like violet, also like the violet, for healing everything. So transition, we want to transmute the energy when we're transitioning. We want to take whatever energy we have and change it into whatever energy it is we need it to be. So whatever frequency we are in, we want to choose what frequency we want to be in and transmute the energy to that. And that's a choice we make. We choose what frequency we're in. So yeah, I love that. Okay.
Very cool. And this card says the frequency of transition supports our deep understanding of the ever changing nature of existence and our lives so that we can learn to let go, surrender to the process, and allow transition to occur with ease and grace.
Right. Okay. So the surrendering, allowing, because there's two natures of energy. I know everyone wants to say divine feminine, divine masculine, but divine feminine is the allowing energy. That's one where we don't force things, but we get into resonant energies and we allow things to flow. The divine masculine is the more about the doing energy. And but we still want to do that. Even when we're doing, we want to do with grace and ease. We want to do it because we're in flow with someone. And the doing that we're doing is because we are in flow, and we're not doing it out of manipulative 3D energy of we've got to make it work, but we're doing because we're doing in flow. So there's doing in flow, and then there's doing because we're making something happen. So there's two different ways of doing. There's human doingness where we're making something happen, and then there's doing because it's flowing. And so you're doing in the flow. So that's when transition is with grace and ease, is when we're transitioning because we've gone to resonant energy. And so we're flowing with the transition. That's the difference. But okay, so both of those were about getting into the frequency of something. And how do we get into the frequency of something? You write about voice. The books were about find your voice, save your life. Okay. Voice, as we know, is the throat chakra. And the throat chakra is expression. Akasa is the earth plane of existence, which is expression. But expression means so much more than speaking. Expression is this continuum of the light body that we are, which starts with source energy and then ends the other end of it. The other end of the continuum is the physicality, which is human. Okay, that is the expression of energy through physicality. Okay, so that's what expression is the physical expression of energy. So it's all things that we do. It's our beingness, it's human beingness, and doing in flow, in resonance. It's when we're doing our highest timeline. when we're in flow, when we're with resonant energy, that is our expression of our highest timeline. So that's how we save our lives. That's how we have our best lives. That's when we're in our highest frequency. That's when we are using our voice most effectively, is when we're in flow, when we've got that continuum clean, when our chakra system is working correctly and those aspects of ourselves aren't getting in the way. So how do we do that? How do we have that clear frequency? How do we have that clear transmission of source energy and have those aspects out of the way? We stay in high vibration mode. We stay in joy. We stay in bliss. We stay listening to our heart's desire. We stay doing our self-care. Think about what we do when we go to church. When you go to church, when you pray, whenever you're asking people to lift you up in prayer or to lift you up, like we ask people to support us energetically. We ask for that from one another. Send me good vibrations, send me, good energy. Whenever any of those type things we do, no matter what belief system is attached to it, anytime we're asking somebody to support us energetically, because of what all those things are, that's what we're doing. We're asking to clear out those denser energies and to raise ourselves up in frequency. And that's what all of those things are about. That is why music is so effective. Music raises us up in frequency. That is why we keep music. That's why music playing everywhere. That's why shopping centers having music going. It keeps our frequency up. So we stay in high vibrational mode and we'll buy more stuff because we're in the frequency of we feel prosperous and therefore we behave prosperously. And when we behave prosperously, we attract in, we feel prosperous, therefore we behave prosperously, and therefore we attract in prosperity. So that is how it works. Whatever energy we are in, that's what we attract in. And when we stay in that energy, we continue to attract it in. So that's why religion, and it doesn't mean that God's not real, but that's why God works. That's why prayer works. Or if you're not religious, that's why energy works. That's why it all works, however you want to look at it, whether you're looking at it as it's God and it's God's answering prayer, God's answering prayer because it's energy. Or if you're like looking at it like, well, it just happens because that's the order of things. Okay, it is. It's energy. However you want to look at it, you got in that frequency. And you do that by expressing yourself in that frequency. And that's all choice. Choose what frequency to be in. So we choose the colors that are around us. We were just talking about paint colors. What color makes you feel, I'm a yellow person, we choose what colors are around us. That's why art is so important. Art puts us in a frequency. The books we read, that's the words that we're reading, they put us in a frequency. The music we listen to, it puts us in a frequency. So that is why that's why all of those things matter. That's why going to church matters to so many people. That's why religion is so important to so many people. And that doesn't negate any of it. That's not saying that one religion is right, one religion is wrong. It doesn't do any of that. No one's belief system is right or wrong. It's all about what works for each person. Because it's the personification of energy. All of it's about the personification of energy and what works for each of us to put us in frequency. It really is about getting into the frequency you want to be in and knowing you have to hold that frequency and that is not selfishness. But when we all hold our frequency, then we're causing everything to spiral upward to our frequency. When we allow ourselves to come out of frequency, then we are falling into a spiraling downward effect and everything comes out of frequency. So it's holding our frequency and everything comes up.
Okay. So I guess first of all, I want to support you when you say, when you're talking about religion being one way that we keep our vibration high.
Yeah.
Right. And the choice that exists for us to be able to choose what it is that raises our vibration. what
Right.
it is that resonates with us. Ooh, that feels good. That not so
That doesn't.
much.
Hmm.
That person I can sit down, I could sit and talk with forever. That's you, by the way. And or this person, it's quite, like you can feel it's just, it's kind of a bumpy
Hmm.
connection as opposed to one that just flows.
Hmm.
So,
Right.
and there goes my
Resonant
lights.
energy. Right. Resonant energy versus non-resonant energy. Right.
Yeah, yeah, which takes us to the choice, and of course, as you well know, I'm the practical one, so I want to be sure that that what we learn here on the earthly plane in this earthly experience is going to give us that teach us how to understand and reflect on that resonance and make the choices that work for us.
Right.
So yeah, voice is expression. Absolutely. Voice is all expression,
Yes.
like, the color of your hair, the no longer color of mine, um, everything, the clothes that we wear, the styles, the kind of decor that we love, and yes, the colors is absolutely everything, and everything needs to resonate. So, the pillows on your bed, do they feel when you lie down, do you just kind of melt into them, or do they give you the support that just feels perfect?
Right.
Things like that. Your favorite shoes, like, it doesn't
Right.
matter, because and even as a beginning, if you're just starting to be able to use your voice, when you recognize that it's everything, you can start with something really small. You don't have to suddenly challenge your boss 2 heads above you on the first try. Unless you're really dirty.
Or you can just start there.
Well, you can, yeah, and then you may have other things to deal with too. That's, yeah. But
Yeah.
you can choose the smaller things. Recognizing that it is everything. You
It is
get to
everything.
start wherever you are, right?
Start where
You
you are.
do. Yes, and knowing that it's the energy behind that. That it's not just the practical. I mean, the practical is how we live our lives, and cannot be left out of this equation,
Right.
right? This is the human experience right here, but the energy is what's behind it. So understanding that is so important, which is, I think, why we can have this such great conversations all the time, because it's awesome. Like the two, when you understand one, then you understand how to impact the other.
Right.
Sometimes
Exactly.
we get to it without understanding the woo part at all. And I
Hmm.
say woo with all the love, that. Um,
Sure.
some people can do that, but when you understand the energy part, it's just that much deeper.
Because it's what energy management is. It's exactly. I was talking to someone this week. I said, it has nothing to do with a morality thing. What I'm trying to explain to you, it's an energy management thing. And they're like, I'm not sure what energy management means. And energy management is simply managing your frequency. It is managing that those aspects, keeping those aspects out of the way to be sure that we're getting that clear transmission from source so that we stay in a high vibration frequency and we are getting the highest possible timeline. We're getting that transmission from source, and we're not expressing the a lower timeline from the denser aspects of ourself, but we're expressing the highest aspect possible of ourself. And so using our voice truly does save our lives, meaning we live the best and
Mm-hmm.
highest life possible. So by staying in frequency, by staying with the most resonant energies possible, we've been taught as a society that when we choose what's best for ourselves, we are being selfish. We're doing the wrong thing. That's because those lower aspects of ourselves, they use that they use that through the programmable mind to get us to live denser or lives or lower timelines so they can express themselves through us. It's not selfish. It is selfish to do that because when we live a lower timeline, we're attracting in lower timelines. So that's a spiraling down effect for the whole planet. That's what's kept us denser. So it is never wrong to live your highest timeline. You are always causing the whole planet to come up when you do that. So, like someone who says, well, my grown child and I, we don't see eye to eye. You know, I do better if I see them once a month than if I see them every day. You're not being selfish or a bad parent by doing that. You're actually showing them that when the energies aren't resonant, the respectful thing to do is to spend the time together that can be quality time, that can be respectful time, and then the rest of the time, let one another be who we are and be with resonant energies. And then as you do that, you will organically grow and become who you are meant to be. You will get on the highest timeline that you are willing to get on. Each of you will. And they will spiral up as high as they're willing to spiral up. And you have no right acting upon their energy to get them to spiral up or down. That's not your place to do. They are sovereign as self. So you just hold your timeline. But you holding your frequency and your highest timeline, by you being in a higher frequency, for them to spend any time with you, they have to come up to that frequency. So anytime they spend with you, they're coming up to that frequency. So that's always you're doing a good thing for them, for you, because you're living your best timeline. So they're having to come up to meet that, to spend time with you. And that doesn't mean you were smarter than them, better than them, but your highest timeline, it's relative to you. It was, so it has nothing to do with your smarter, better, more moral, none of that. It's our highest and best good, what's better or higher frequency, that's relative to each person. So that's, right. Yeah. So that's not you mean you're higher than me? No, it's a higher timeline for me. It's a higher vibration for me. It may not be for you, but for me it is. And that's what matters. Yeah.
Right. And I just want to jump in and say that when we do that, when we are being true to ourselves and we are completely aligned with who we are and we make our choices based on that and keep ourselves aligned, then that not only feels amazing to us, but it makes us, because I kind of got, I could hear the chatter that most people would be saying when we were talking about that when we are in that place, then other people raise to our vibration too. So what that chatter was saying was, this could be another way of getting that person to change, right? So that I just want to debunk that. And and we've talked about this before too, especially when we are in a high vibration, there is no space for manipulation of anybody. No. You don't desire it. You don't want it. It doesn't belong. It doesn't fit. Because any kind of manipulation of anybody or anything in a negative way or in a controlling way, which is really, really hard for lots of people, I gotta say. And so don't kick yourself if that's you, anybody that's listening, because we've all been there.
What we've been doing for all of recorded history is how do we get that to change? How do we make that happen? So it's what we all been doing. So yeah.
And as women, we're huge caretakers. So how
absolutely.
How do we fix that person? Oh my gosh, my kid is this, or my sister is this, or my brother is this, and how do I fix them? I really think I need to fix them, and I know I can fix them. Well, you may know things that they don't know, but that's not yours to share, right? All you have to do is to be in alignment with yourself.
Right?
That's it.
Well, that's it. And the relationships we end up in when we do that, like really creative types will be, if they're true to themselves, usually they will attract in somebody who is respectful of that, and they'll be really business oriented, because you and I are the creative types who aren't necessarily, we don't think in terms of making the money. So we need to stay in frequency and do what we do and attract in somebody who's like, okay, that's great. And this is how we make money doing that. That's where the power couples come from. This how you have a power couple. And so those two energies flow together, and in their human beingness, by being in frequency, by letting their continuum get their highest and best good come down to them, and expressing themselves in their fullness of their beingness, by doing together, they're a power couple. That is how you attract in, that's how you end up in the right job. You get attracted to the job that uses your frequency, your best and highest frequency, for the right role in the company. Okay, you're not the one that's going to figure out how to make $1,000,000, but you're the one that comes up with the creative idea that then somebody else figures out. Okay, and this is how we make money off of that. So that's how we take the best of each person, the skill set of each person, and we marry them together. That's how that happens. That's how we get with the right energies to make things happen. And so this is where your power couples come from. This is where the right teams come together for jobs. This is where the right friendships come from. This is how right relationships are formed, and they flow. And the doing is with grace and ease, and this is where the excitement comes. This is like, you and I stay excited. We get together like this morning. You're like, I think I'm gonna, what do you think? And I'm like, well, that explains why I got the hit that I'm going to do such and such with you. And you're like, oh, and the next thing you know, we're off and we've done play in September, so because it's with grace and ease, because we flow like this, because that our energies resonate. So but we could not do that. There's no space for that if you don't come out of non-resonant energies. You're not managing your energy if you stay in non-resonant relationships. If you stay in non-resonant relationships, one, there's no room in your energetic bandwidth for resonant relationships to come in. And two, non-resonant relationships pull your frequency down, and you're not in frequency yourself to attract in that person. So you miss it. And so that's why anything that keeps you in frequency, if it's your religious belief, if it's listening to music, if it's art, if it's reading books, whatever it is that keeps you high vibrational, exercise, whatever it is that helps you stay in frequency, you do that. That's your self-care. Whatever it is that helps you stay in frequency and helps you understand that it is perfectly acceptable to not stay in non-resonant relationships. And that doesn't mean that you never see those people, that you have nothing to do with them. You just don't have enough to do with them to pull yourself out of frequency. You have to understand what being in frequency is and respect yourself. That's your self-care. That is your self-care, because prosperity is what we're all here for. And by you making sure you have yours, that's how you make sure everybody has it. And we are always in the transition of doing that. This is not a one and done. This isn't, okay, I'm in frequency now. No, this is a constant. This is constant. We are always doing this. We are always in this transition of maintaining frequency and constantly evaluating and staying in resonant energies. And sometimes that means choosing to stay in resonance. And sometimes it means choosing to let go and become resonant with something else. It's both. It's both.
Yeah, and it really is important for us that we understand the things that do resonate with us, or the things that will help us pull out of those kind of funks. Because we all go there. Anything can happen, even just a gloomy day, or you forget to see that there is sunshine up there somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? And whatever it is, it can be anything that just pulls us down a little bit. As soon as we feel that, then we need to look for the things that pull us back up again, things that support us. So for me, it's always a walk in the woods, right?
Yes, I know. I love your sign. Do you have your sign handy?
I do have my sign handy.
Yes, I love it. She did so well. Your husband did so well.
Happy birthday to me. Isn't he great? Yeah.
Into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul. That is the epitome of you. Yeah. That's perfect.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I love it. Yeah, he did well. That's for sure. Happy birthday to me. So when we're finding things that really work for us, I always suggest that people have a list of things,
to go to when they can't sit. Right.
So that you're prepared, because when we get it feeling a little funky, when our vibration is lower, we often decide that's when we choose not to choose ourselves. That's when we think, oh, I know for me, the first thing that comes to my mind is, ooh, I need chocolate. Well, you know what? A square of chocolate, that's okay, right? If I'm looking for chocolate to make me physically feel better, or to if it's something other than just pleasure, then it's something else. That would be like, I really need a glass of wine, or I really need a donut, or whatever it is, things that don't necessarily serve our bodies as well as other kinds of things. But the difference is, is it just pleasure? Are you just enjoying it in that moment as pleasurable, and you're prioritizing your own pleasure, or is it comfort, like
a crutch, or
yes,
it's not really going to serve the purpose, because you're not really dealing with the issue.
you're masking it.
You're masking it, which is
Yeah.
what so many of us do, instead of actually doing the transition and getting rid of the non-resonant stuff, energies. We end up with drinking or overindulging in this, or some people over exercise. It doesn't have to be food. It can be over exercise or overwork. Some people will just work all the time and say, because that's what I did. Well, I need to make more money so my kids can have more stuff. So I just worked all the time, and that further imploded my health. So we can come up with good things that aren't, too much of a good thing. It is not. So.
Yeah, and when we're talking about the whole piece about feeling crappy, that's all part of the human experience. So we're all going to have it. We're all, for one reason or another, because we are living a human life, right?
Well,
so because we do. It's not just making a choice to, oh, okay, I'm doing this, and that's going to make me feel better. I'm going to go dance in my kitchen later or whatever. It's recognizing that those experiences are there for a reason, that that it's teaching us to choose ourselves. Each different one is teaching us to choose ourselves. So everything is an opportunity, right? That person who maybe flipped you the bird because you accidentally forgot to put your signal on in traffic, you didn't do it on purpose, right? It wasn't intentional. But you get to learn from that too. Okay, I feel bad. I feel really bad, but do I feel bad? I didn't do it intentionally, so it's an opportunity to learn more about ourselves and to make better choices for us.
Because we will always be triggered by the same thing. This notion that we get healed, no, it's a continuum too. It's always a progression. Whatever our wounds are, we're always going to be triggered by the same thing. So those are our wounds. It's how quickly we recognize that we've been triggered, and how quickly we deal with that trigger and we bounce back from it. If we are with non-resonant energies, we're going to stay wallowing in those wounds. If we are with resonant energies, we recognize it quicker and we come out of it quicker. And we have less triggering when we're with resonant than when we're with non-resonant. Non-resonant energies are going to trigger us more often. Resonant energies aren't going to trigger us as often, but even a resonant energy can trigger you. I mean, people are tired. People don't always say the right thing. People don't know, so even a resonant energy can trigger you, but it's what we do with the trigger. And that's the difference too between 5D behavior and 3D behavior, is what do you do with it when you're triggered, and how is it heard what you do. Saying that something has triggered you and identifying a trigger, the way somebody in 5D hears that, they hear that you're simply identifying it and you're dealing with it. In 3D, the way somebody hears it is that you're blaming them for what happened, and you're not. So, I mean, there's a difference just in that when you're dealing with non-resonant energy versus resonant energy, how you're dealing with things. So choosing to be in resonant energies, it is a choice that we make. And but it's a hard choice, because our society has taught us we're supposed to stay with our people. We're supposed to stay with that group, or we're supposed to stay. We have societal programming that's
stay in that job, because at least you earn a living. If you go somewhere else, then maybe it won't be so good.
Yeah, and who are you to move on, or who are you to think that you can do that, or all these different things that keep us stuck in energies that we're not doing them any favor either, because there's nobody that can step into that job that we're holding that's not right for us if we stay in it. And there's somebody else that belongs there, but we're holding that place. There's nobody that can be with the partner we're with that we don't belong with. And if we don't belong with them, they don't belong with us. The right person for them can't get with them as long as we're staying with them. And then the person we're supposed to be with, the right energy for us, they're having to wait until another resonant energy comes along. So we're never doing the right thing by staying with non-resonant energy. So by staying high vibrational and being holding frequency and attracting in our resonant energies, we're always doing the right thing, no matter how we do that, whether it's because we're using entertainment to do it, we're using music to do it, we're using art to do it, whether it's because we're doing it ourselves through comfort, because there isn't anything wrong with having that latte in the morning or that hot tea in the afternoon or whatever experience it is that you bring for
It's
yourself.
pleasure.
It's
Right?
pleasure,
Yeah.
right?
Prioritizing
Because
my own pleasure.
right, because we are meant to be here to have that as above, so below experience. It is meant to be that. The reason the reason we're having those denser experiences that we're having to come out of is because we got into those denser energies anyway. The more high vibrational we all get, the less of that we'll have, the less of those layers of dense energy we'll have to pull off. So the less of that we will have. So, but it's understanding those things and understanding what it means to be in the frequency that brings prosperity, health, wealth, abundance, and prosperity. It's being in the frequency so that transition is a flow, so that it happens with grace and ease, so that we end up doing with people that we are being with naturally because they're attracted into our frequency. And so, however you get yourself into frequency and stay there, that's perfectly fine. But it really is, whether it's because of your religious belief, whether it's because you are just you're just this high vibrational person that just stays upbeat with music or whatever, or you're a nature person, whatever it is, it's really all the same thing. It's about tapping into that energy, that frequency, whatever gets you there, and staying there. Mm-hmm. And that's always the right thing to do. And anytime you're there. Yeah. And anytime you're out of that, whatever it takes to come up out of that, that is always the right thing to do. And all of that societal programming that's telling you you have to stay there, no, that's the things you need to be peeling off.
Yeah, and I think it's important too to touch on that, if we are in a different, if we're in a different frequency, if we are a little bit lower, if something has happened or you just didn't sleep well, or, sure, or someone spoke sharply to you and it kind of, it hit you or whatever it was, I think it's important to, and I think it's important to really recognize and let those feelings flow through us.
We have to, yes.
But that's intentional too, right? And that also can be high vibe. Is high vibe.
It is high vibe.
We're bringing ourselves up by allowing any of those feelings and those experiences just to wash right through us. So recognizing, because when we, and this is my own personal practice, when we are not feeling 100% or whatever it is, 1,000,000%, we're going to feel that somewhere in our body. Somewhere in our body, there's going to be tension. There's going to be an ache. There's going to be something that is off in our body. So we listen to our body. We can actually sit with it, hold it. Put your hand wherever it is, energy, and let the and let the visualize it passing through, those feelings passing through. So visualize the dissipating of that tension ball or whatever it is. Let it go, and then visualize those feelings that were with it, just to move on. Thank you so much for being here and teaching me another lesson, and move on.
Right, because if we ignore those things, then we've left that stuck energy there. Ignoring it is low vibrational thing to do. Ignoring something is not dealing with it. We have to be real, feel, deal, and heal from stuff, or it's stuck energy, and it will come back around and bite us, because we're going to feel it, as you're saying. That's what we're going to feel. We're going to feel it as a pain in our shoulder or something like that. So the way I like to think of it is, and I love that you said it's going to dissipate, because I like to think of it as you recognize that somebody hurt your feelings and you feel it, say in the heart space. Sit with it, visualize where you want to be. What frequency do you want to be? You want to be above that. So get above that, and then visualize yourself like looking down on it, and let that pass below you. So you're above it, and it's just going below you. Okay, I see it. There it goes. It's just going, and it's just dissipating away. And you know what's dissipating into? It just turned back into love again. It just became, it just transmuted. I chose. It was denser energy, but I chose, and turned into love again. It came back up into, because I chose to look at it from love. I chose. I may have not felt it at the moment, but I chose to look at it from there. And as I chose to let it go and just dissipate, my frequency comes back up to love. I'm pulling it back up into love. I'm choosing. And so I'm dealing with it. I'm moving that energy. I'm allowing that energy to move, and use whatever you need to. Use music if you need to, use prayer if you need to, use taking a walk in the woods if you need to, use that latte if you need to, use that little square of chocolate if you need to. Now, if you find, yeah, tapping. Now, if you find that you need the whole bottle of wine to do it, the whole 6 Hershey bars that are in the bag to do it, then that was a bigger experience than that, and you need to deal with it a little differently than that. But at the same time, it's still essentially the same thing. You need to come up into frequency, to a higher frequency. It's a bigger hurt than that, though, so you need to look at it a little differently, but it's still the same thing. Come up into the frequency you want to be in. Look at it as that was a denser experience than I want to be in, and let it pass. But you still have to deal with it. You can never ignore it.
Yeah. And so a couple things come up as she said that, and one is that it may not even be a different experience for us to be choosing, like the 3-hour cardio session, or the 6 chocolate bars, or the sponge cake that's left over from dinner last night, the whole thing, or half. I'm being crazy, but we're choosing those things because we don't want to go in here. We don't want to touch that stuff. Yeah, we don't want to think about that. That hurts. We don't want to go there.
Right.
I promise you don't have to dive in deep. You don't have to go in and sit in the muck, and unless you're called to, and you'll know if you need to. But from my experience, even just naming what's happening and allowing it to flow through is enough. And you will know if you need to go deeper. Because the issue is yes, definitely what happened that took you there, but it's also recognizing that the choice that you make, if you're choosing not to go in here, then you're choosing to, and I'll say this, not that I haven't done it myself because I love chocolate so much, but we're abusing our bodies by not choosing to deal with whatever is there. Right. So we're making a choice. We're still making a choice, but we're making one that doesn't serve us.
Yes.
And what you and I are saying is choose one that does serve you.
Right. The 3D way of doing it is to ruminate on it. We hold on to it. We sit and we drink that old bottle of wine, and we call up a friend and we bitch, moan, and complain about it. Can you believe that? And believe me, I can do that. I can do that because that's what we've done all recorded history. That's what we do, And sometimes we do have to talk it out once, but we don't have to talk it out 20 times because we're dragging ourselves back through that energy over and over and over. When we go to bed every night and we replay the same scenario that happened, or we replay, well, it could have happened this way, or I should have said that, or should it, tomorrow night I'm going to think about it and I will say that, no, you won't, because it already happened. You can't do that. So why are you doing that to yourself? See it one time, bring your frequency up, and be done with it. Pull that energy forward now. Use that energy and go forward. That's 5D living. That's the difference between 3D living and 5D living, is you recognize, okay, have that one bottle of wine, talk it out one time, think it through one time, then pull that energy forward, let it go. Let that in and pull that energy. That's when we're meditating. We say, I call myself back to myself across all time, space, universes, lifetimes, dimensions, and incarnations. We're not just saying that. That's what we're talking about. That's when we're saying, I'm not going to talk about this anymore, or think about it anymore, or let myself lay there all night and just ruminate in that anymore. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to stay stuck there. I just called all that energy to myself. I dealt with it. I let it pass. I've turned it into love again, and I'm now using that energy to go forward. And that's the difference between traditional therapy and the type of work that you and I do. That's the whole difference between it. We don't have to talk about it a million times. We don't have to ruminate in it. We don't have to confront them, and we don't have to do all that stuff. Just pull your energy to yourself. Deal with it within yourself. Pull your energy to yourself. You get in frequency and get out of those non-resonant energies, and use whatever it takes for you to be in frequency, because you are all you control anyway. Right. We never controlled any of that other stuff anyway. So we can replay it as many times as we want to. All we're doing is wasting our own energy, and that's energy management.
Right.
Yeah. So glad.
Good job. All this conversation has made me want a piece of chocolate, though.
Yeah, it did me too. Yeah, I'm thinking Hershey's
little
peanut butter.
Pleasure. Oh, you got a good one.
Thank you, Dianna. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, darling. Yeah, it is always a pleasure for me too.